Welcome to Our Minds podcast, where we focus on lifestyle topics that includes business, in the house, all relationships, and more, from one mind to another. You can now pick up Think, Action, Believe, a book written by me, created for self-improvement, on our website at www.belleaudiovision.com, where you can find our newest products, plus you can subscribe and be the first person to receive information. Thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope this message opens your mind and elevates your perspectives. I love you, and until next time, go be great. Hi, how are you doing today, Ethan?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I want to start with a cheers.
Who we cheersing to?
To success.
And completing this podcast.
And completing this podcast and relationships.
Is that what we're talking about?
Today we are talking about relationships. And one of the topics that a lot of people have been asking me about are, what do men and women look for in relationships?
Oh, God.
But before we get into that, I want to start off with a...
With the what?
With a quote.
Oh, quote?
All yes, right, I like to start my podcast off with a quote.
All right, let me hear it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Bet. Let me find it. All right. Okay, and this is actually a quote by me. In life, we're going to have to do something we dislike, but spending more time doing what we like rather than dislike is what matters.
Okay, that's deep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Just wrote it today. I don't know why it was in my head. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put some words together. And
I'm ready to quit this job, boo.
Well, see, you're focusing on what you don't like versus what you do like. I see how that plays.
I guess. I'm trying to get away from what I don't like.
To be honest, I was doing something I didn't like today. And that's actually what made me think about it, because I was like, I don't like this. But I was like, I don't like getting up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, I'm grateful for getting up, but I don't like to get up. But I have to, you know what I mean? So if we just focus on things that we like doing, like we hear so much of what we don't like. We hear so much negativity. I was going to say negativity. I was like that. This topic is about relationships. And my first question for you is, what do men look for in a relationship? And be completely honest.
I can't speak for all men, but since this is your podcast, I'm speaking for all men.
Show, so hey, go ahead.
We'll get some other men on the show to get them to answer, but I don't know. What I look for in a relationship is, I mean, I'm looking to build, so like anybody to help me build, you know what I'm saying? Like peace. Like, I'm not looking for, like, you know what I'm saying, that masculine energy, like I don't know, I'm not looking for like somebody that's like hardcore, somebody that I gotta like keep my guard up with, you know what I'm saying? Because I have to keep my guard up with the world. So like, this may sound crazy, but like somebody to like, because I like physically I would consider myself the protector, you know what I mean? But emotionally I would like to feel safe with the person. I like sex a lot, so that would be another thing that I feel like would be great in a relationship. And my relationship is like you know, sex. Also feeling comfortable to be sexually open with the person that I'm with, and not feel like I'm being judged for like what I'm into.
So these are things that you look for. Well, I'm more so for you, right? These are things that you look for in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like, if you were building that person, they pretty much have to have those qualities.
Right. Somebody that's nice, somebody that's sweet. I like a girl that's like a good girl in public, but then like behind closed doors, like she a freak. I like that too. Okay. It's something about like this switch. It's like the light switch. It's like, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
A woman that's attractive. Like, I know being attractive is subjective, but I like a woman that's attractive, that takes care of herself, that manages her pH, that, like, you know what I'm saying, that eats good, focuses on her diet, working out. Yeah. Someone's like almost like a nutritionist, low key, that like somebody's also very spiritual. Somebody likes to do like yoga and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's what I look for.
You have a very, you like a lot.
It's really not a lot, to be honest. Like Yeah, like somebody that's just like, you know, rides for me, that's loyal to me, that kind of like amps me up. Because, for example, like we all deal with moments where we're insecure. So you know what I'm saying, somebody that's like that's gonna motivate me. You know what I'm saying, that pushes me, that sees the best in me. That's probably what I would look for.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being very thorough with that. Now you make my answer feel kind of like uh, dry. but what, like, if you were to ask me what I look for in a relationship, I look for, it's more so just words that I look, descriptions. I'll just say 5 words. Just put it like that. So 5 words that could describe a relationship that I look for is respect, honesty, consistency, communication, and there's one more C word I'm thinking about. Oh, and compromise.
Okay.
I think that's the other C word. I can't remember. I know I had them in my head earlier. But yeah, and it kind of goes into what you're saying, but I think those are 5 things that if someone has, for me personally, that's something I could work with. And I feel like there's a lot of women that I actually reached out to and a few men, and some of the things they said were like communication, matching energy, someone that's pretty much headstrong where they're able to pretty much stand on their own. Some people look for someone they can trust. Loyalty was a big one. And then there's some other things that were repeating, but for the most part, a lot of people look for that. Yeah. So what do you, with today relationships, do you feel like people are still, and so in today, do you feel like people are finding what they're looking for in a relationship? Is the best way, I guess I'm trying to say. Even because, like, what we're saying is just characteristics you really would think that anyone would have, even outside of a relationship. Things that are characteristics you think that people should have when it comes to friendships, work ethic, and everything. So do you feel like, off of the people that you know, that that's what they're finding in relationships?
I feel like people that aren't in a relationships don't know what it takes to make a relationship and how to be suitable for a relationship until they find a relationship. Cause like, but then I also but I also see people that have been in relationships and they were great for the relationship, but they just picked the wrong person.
Right.
So, but like but I would say that that's the minority though. I feel like the majority are full of single people that like they want a relationship, but then it's like they lack the qualities that it takes to make a relationship. Because even when like I see some of our friends, it's like so let's talk about the people in,
Like, let you know you're saying it too.
Okay. But no, I would say people that are in relationships are always a taboo. They always come with their stuff. You know what I mean? So with relationships, I think that the people that I see in relationships, they're generally happy. I feel like there's more people that are looking for relationships that aren't finding them. They're not finding a suitable spouse.
And why do you think that is? Like,
because they're looking for it. Like our relationship, we didn't look for it. So we met very young, but like if I was to knowing now, like if me and you were to never meet, knowing what I know now as far as like development, finances, getting to know myself, preparing myself to be the best, working on myself to be the best version of me, mm-hmm. I would say that's the key to really finding a relationship, because then you start to people start to gravitate towards you. You start to find like-minded people. Mm-hmm.
Versus like rushing into something where you can find someone, but you're not compatible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know.
And a lot of people that I know, they're in relationships and they're not happy because they're not compatible.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that rush into relationships that try to get what we have. Um, like I know that might sound like, you know, messed up, but I see it a lot. Like people are dealing with, they accept the toxic behavior, they accept a lot of things when it's like because they see us on the outside and they like, you know, they don't know what work we put in to get to where we're just comfortable with each other. I seen a TikTok and a guy said, he said girls always say that, you know, that like I'm looking for a healthy relationship, and he said healthy relationships aren't found, they're created. And that is totally true, because when we first met, we went through the whole toxic phase of finding people in our phones, whole 9 yards. And we could have that in some cases it should have been the final draw, and we could have decided to let it go, but because what we wanted was to be with each other, we both worked on things to develop ourselves in our relationship, and that's why we have the relationship that we have now. It's not perfect.
To add to that really quick,
let me finish. We're not perfect. We're not perfect at all by any means, but I would say that our relationship, honestly, it's crazy as it may sound, when I see other relationships, there are not a lot of relationships that I find that are as healthy or as drama free as ours. Like, yeah.
Okay. So. And what I was gonna say is that, so in our relationship, like you said, we have to create this. So do you feel like the things that we would either be upset about or whatever issues arise in our relationship, do you feel like it was based on something that like a flaw or something that could better the person? So like what we're arguing about, if it was something you didn't like about me or something I didn't like about you, overall us learning to grow through it made each other a better person individually, and then we also were able to be a better person in our relationship.
Yeah. Crazy part is, believe it or not, like there's this saying like, oh, I'm grown. Like we say that because people can't tell us what to do, but when you're in a relationship, like even outside of a relationship, when you're an adult, you have to still continue to raise yourself and mature yourself. So when you're in a relationship, you have they should be your accountability partner. Like that's why I was like I'm looking for somebody to push me. Just like I'm looking to push somebody too, cause but like for example, there was things that in our relationship that I didn't like for example, like your attitude being one of them. I was like, yo, I feel like like your attitude, like the moment you get salty, you just start flipping. And it got to a point where we had a conversation. It was like, well, if look, like this is a red flag for me. So I'm not going to continue to do this. And you've said things like that to me too. Like, you know, that's not something that I'm going to deal with. So you have to work on that. What I like about that communication is that it leaves the choice up to the other person to either work on it or understand the fact that that person is going to be out. So, yeah, like when it comes to relationships, there's a lot of things that we got to do with ourselves and check ourselves. But also having that communication, because I understand that there are relationships where you can't say anything to your spouse without them flipping off the handle, and it's like this whole big thing, and it's like it would have been a lot easier for you to not say anything in the first place. That's not a healthy relationship. That's not a relationship you should be in. That's a relationship that you should get away from in a heartbeat.
And that's something that I would define as being toxic. Because a lot of people, they joke about being, you know, in toxic relationships, but when it really comes down to it, being in a toxic relationship messes with your mental capability, it messes with your physical capability, emotional. Like you can really be traumatized from being in a toxic relationship. And as much as a lot of people like to joke about it, and maybe some people find it sexy, because you hear this term where it's like it's a crazy woman, but it's really she's just very toxic. And whatever people may like, that's cool, but that's gonna be a pattern if you keep allowing that in your life of what your life's gonna look like and for the rest of your relationship.
Yeah, people that are inside of a toxic relationship, like for example, like my cousin, like one thing I will commend about her is that the moment she spots something toxic, she out. Like she'll replace a man in a heartbeat. And then also I know a male cousin of mine that he's the same way, where You know what I'm saying? If she ain't got her stuff together, her attitude ain't right, her personality ain't right, she ain't working on herself, he'll replace her. And I respect that, because I have the tendency to hang on to people. It's always been hard for me to let people go. So when I see that in people, well, now that if I'm like, to be quite frankly honest, if me and you wasn't to work, I would be a savage. Like, yo, you ain't on my standard, you ain't working on yourself, find another one. Like, I know that I can find somebody else. There's somebody else.
And then
that
you also have to
matches my
look at
energy.
it. It's one of this, I forget who I was talking to, but when you start experiencing certain things, your tolerance becomes very slim. So, like, for example, me and you met at 19. So at 19, you were like my first real relationship, to be honest. I'm 19, like my first relationship was you, and look, we're still together.
Yeah, you're my first real relationship too.
Everything else is like all the other little relationships or whatever I had, that wasn't serious. You know what I mean? Like
even though we thought they were so serious
back then, you really do.
This
You're
is
like,
gonna be the person I'm gonna die with, bro.
Yes, and it was like no.
Yeah.
So like me and you are the first. You're the first person I actually live with. That's a whole nother experience. When you first move into a house with someone, a lot of people don't know what to expect. That's something big. You can learn a lot with someone by just living with them, which is why I believe you should live with someone before you take it to another level. But you should also prepare to make sure that if that doesn't work, you're good. Because a lot of things that I feel keep others in relationships
Talking to the mic
longer than what they should,
I got you.
Is feeling limited and feeling like they don't if they don't have this person, they don't know what to do, or they're gonna have to start over. So they'll stay in a relationship longer than they need to, because I know a lot of people that are like that. They're still in the relationship because they feel like it's easier to be in that relationship than have to feel one moment or minute of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, a lot of times you also remember too, like, I feel like there's a few reasons why that happens. Obviously, for sometimes it can be financial reasons. You know, it's harder to do that. Like, I can't imagine, but
especially today, they do say that it is harder to live on your own than
at this current state. Yeah, like currently it would be, I could do it, but it would be a little bit more difficult for me to be able to have a place on my own. It would be more, the ratio to my income to debt would change, right? Because we have double the income. So it's easier for us to just be comfortable and also invest and grow and things like that because we have double the income. That's one reason why people don't leave and they stay in toxic relationships. Right. Another reason are childhood traumas that have never been dealt with. Thank you. I've drawn a blank. So, you know, like, for example, with me, like, I love my mom to death. We have a great relationship now. So I'm not doing this to bash her, but truthfully speaking, I had a toxic relationship with my mother. Like, she had me when she was 15, so she wasn't ready to be a parent. So I don't really fault her too much for a lot of things, just because but even her having emotional traumas from her childhood. So a lot of times people are addicted to what they didn't have as a child, and they look for that in their current relationship. And also, I see a lot of people being addicted to love, really addicted to love, to where they feel like it's like they're looking for that high. Someone. Yeah, they have to have someone. And if the person is toxic, they're looking for that little high that they get when the person's chilling or they're cool. That goes for men and women, because I have a few of my, you know, my cousins and brothers and stuff where they're in toxic relationships and they don't even know it. And I see them all the time where the person will do the same exact thing, and they be like, bro, this person got one more time to mess up, and then one more time come up, and they go 10 times harder than they did before, and then they're frustrated at the moment, and like look up a week later, they're all lovey-dovey with that person. Is because they're looking for that high of that person being the person that they want them to be, versus just ripping the Band-Aid off and saying, you know what, you've been doing the same thing for years, you gotta go. And me being in a healthy relationship now I'm able to realize that, because before I dealt with the whole heartbreak. Like, I had a girl cheat on me with my best friend. You know what I mean? I had a girl try to get me robbed, get me shot. Like, you know, I had a girl have a whole relationship behind my back, but I was sick over it. Every time I was sick over it. But every time I would go back, I would keep going back because I wanted them to be the person that I pictured them to be. So, and it got to a point to where I had to realize, luckily it was my brother that helped me out. Shout out to Aaron. Like, he was the one that was the big homie in my ear. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you don't even value yourself enough.
Right.
Like, I'll never forget, this girl broke my heart. We broke up. And this is when, like, I turned into a, like, I'm not going to say a savage, but that's when I knew how to maneuver in the dating world. And, like, I found out she had a whole nother girl behind my back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Which, like, most people be like, oh, dude, that's awesome. No, it's not, bro. Like, it still felt the same as if it was a dude. It's the same thing. Like, I wasn't involved with them both. It was she just had a whole relationship behind my back. And I was sick. I was in my room for, like, you know, this was years ago. I was in my room, and I was, like, crying, like, for a week. Like, I was, like, you know how, like, you see on videos, like, on TV shows where, like, a girl breaks up with her dude, and she's, like, eating ice cream and, like, crying on the couch watching movies and stuff. I was that guy, and I wouldn't leave out of my room. And it got to a point where my brother, like, you know, we lived together, and I would come home, I'd go straight to the room and just be like playing the same song on repeat, just laying in the bed, just like I would. Aww. And I promised myself that I would never, ever, ever get that low of myself. But when we talked, he was like, bro, like, honestly, like, you got to be okay with being okay with just you. Like, you letting this person take your happiness. Like, you're not happy if if this one person is around. Think about how toxic that is. Mm-hmm. So you got to start working on yourself and being okay with yourself. And
just to add really quick, I know this is years and years ago, but at that time, did you have any activities going for yourself? Or was most of your time when you weren't occupied, because you were probably in school, was occupied by her? So did you have anything going on in your life at that time? And see, one thing I'm noticing...
I could have.
Right. And even outside of other women, right? Just have other activities, hobbies. If you were still focusing on yourself, still within your relationship, it's still going to hurt. There's certain pains. You can't bypass the process of being hurt. That's just going to happen. But what you can control is the outcome and what comes after the hurt, because you're going to be hurt. There's no way, even if me and you broke up or whatever the case may be,
yeah, I'll be
there's
hurt.
going to go a time where we're going to be hurt, but that time is going to bypass, and it's what you do with that hurt and how you transfer that hurt into success or whatever you want it to be is what matters. You know what I mean? And that's with anything in life, you know? Yeah. So, like, for example, I have this thing I always tell you about having an exit strategy. We have exit strategies. No matter what, me and you are going to split one day, no matter if it's you dying or me leaving or vice versa.
You gotta kill me, bro.
I'm not going to kill you, but it's just life. You know what I mean? Like, one of us is going to go one day. And one thing that is going to lead me into my next topic is, once you're done, is actually figuring out, like, when that phase of life hits us, how do you handle that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
we're gonna break up one way or other.